In today's modern world, it can be easy to take for granted the incredible amount of content at our fingertips whenever we want it. But that wasn't always the case. Back in the early 1980s, there were only 3 channels to choose from in the UK: BBC One, BBC Two, and ITV. However, in the early evening of November 2nd, 1982, the UK's 4th channel, Channel 4, began broadcasting from 4:45 p.m. The first programme shown on the channel was Countdown, a classic game show in its own right. But a month later, in December 1982, a groundbreaking new game show would make its debut: Treasure Hunt. Each week, a pair of contestants would be confined to a studio and would have to use maps, books, and other resources to solve clues that led the Skyrunner and her helicopter to real-world locations in search of more clues and ultimately the final treasure. The more clues the team could solve, the bigger their cash prize would be at the end of the show. The twist? Although viewers could see the Skyrunner, the contestants couldn't. They could only hear her, and they only had 45 minutes to find and solve all of the clues leading to the treasure. Unlike anything that had been seen before on British television, this fast-paced game show, filled with adventure and excitement, ran for 7 series throughout the rest of the 1980s, pulling in millions of viewers each week. In this video, we'll take a look back at Treasure Hunt and explore what made it a beloved and enduring classic. I really hope you enjoy. As Channel 4 made its grand debut, the need for fresh and captivating television program formats was clear. When it came to game shows, ITV had the likes of Family Fortunes and The Price is Right, which were adapted from their American counterparts. So, Channel 4 decided to look elsewhere in the world for game show formats. As mentioned earlier, the first show to be broadcast on the new Channel 4 was Countdown, a show that has become a British institution. But it might surprise you to learn that this was actually an adaptation of the French program Des chiffres et de lettres, meaning numbers and letters in English. Remarkably, this French version is still broadcast to this very day, nearing an impressive 60 years of continuous broadcast. Treasure Hunt shares a similar origin story. The British show is based on the French show La Chasse aux Trésors. Debuting in 1981, La Chasse aux Trésors follows the same format that the British version of the show would later adopt, with a team confined to a studio solving clues to lead their Skyrunner, in this case played by Philippe de Duleveux, to subsequent clues leading to the final treasure. The show's format was devised by legendary French creator and producer of game shows Jacques Antoine, who also created the likes of The Crystal Maze and Fort Boyard. Speaking of Fort Boyard, interestingly, a pilot episode for La Chasse aux Trésors was filmed in 1980 in Fort Boyard, a location that would, a decade later, become the stage for another well-known game show. To learn more about that, check out my video looking at the story of Fort Boyard. La Chasse aux Trésors enjoyed a 3-year run in France from 1981 to 1984 before its cancellation. However, the show's enduring concept inspired various adaptations and spin-offs in France, including Les Trésors du Monde, or Treasures of the World, in 1994, and La Carte au Trésor, the Treasure Map, spanning from 1996 to 2009, and again from 2018 to the present day. The British version of Treasure Hunt was hosted by former BBC newsreader Kenneth Kendall, whose job was to assist the contestants in the studio with solving the clues. Kenneth always stated that he didn't know the clues or the locations in advance, and that the help he gave the contestants was only from his own knowledge. In the first series, the original clue setter was Anne Mayo. She would hand over the first clue to the contestants at the beginning of the show, and would take part later in the show in various segments. From the second series onwards, this role was expanded to that of an adjudicator, who would give contestants tips on how they were doing and provide extra information about the locations visited. In Series 2, the adjudicator was Annette Linton, or Nettie. And from Series 3 onwards, TV AM weather girl Wincy Willis took on the role. Before the hunt begins, we cross over to the Sky Runner, played by Annika Rice, known as Annie, for the majority of the show's run. However, in Series 7, Annabelle Croft took over when Annie left the show on maternity leave. The contestants and Kenneth in the studio would be able to communicate with Annie in real time via a radio link, something that was quite remarkable for this time period. I'm sure that big radio pack that Annie had to carry around was quite heavy. Annie would then introduce us to the team with her, consisting of a helicopter pilot and film crew, and reveal her starting location to the contestants. With the starting location known, the game would begin with the first clue. There were usually a total of 5 clues that had to be found, with the final clue leading to the treasure, although in the first series there were a few episodes with fewer clues. The treasure that had to be found was usually some kind of small object, like a piece of jewellery or a small toy. The clues that were provided to the contestants were somewhat cryptic, to say the least. For example, in Series 3, Episode 11, one of the clues was, "Churchill's intriguing parcel was royally sealed here, and some donkey work ensures the next day delivery." This clue led Annie to Carisbrooke Castle, where the clue was found in the bucket in the castle's well. In Episode 7 of Series 2, the first clue was, "By Finn McCool's highway, take Shanks's pony to a set of pipes with a treble chance." And this clue led to Giant's Causeway, where the clue was found inside the rocks. And in Episode 13 of Series 5, the final clue that led to the treasure was, "Off the rails, a semblance of Scottish liqueur is left, but a little port looks right. A green gate leads to a palmy point." This cryptic clue led to the Scottish village of Ploughton, where the final treasure was a Scottish dagger known as a ski-and-do, located in a palm tree. However, on this occasion, the contestants ran out of time before they could get the treasure. In order to decrypt these devious clues, contestants had to make use of the resources provided to them in the studio, which usually consisted of a large collection of books and maps placed by the production team. No internet in this era, the information they needed to solve the clues was located somewhere in these books, but it was up to the contestants to find it. The locations of the clues and the final treasure often led the Skyrunner into some interesting situations. For example, in Series 3, Episode 2, based in Warwickshire, the clue was, "Gatecrash a kingmaker's family house party, head for the sound of music, then inspect the still life." And the clue was hidden on a tray being held by a waxwork waiter, until Annie realised that wasn't a waxwork.
Oh! Got it? Nice.
In Series 5, Episode 12, based in Kent, with seconds to spare, Annie had to jump out of a helicopter into the water and swim towards the final treasure, a scarf, in the possession of a windsurfer. In Series 6, Episode 13, Annie had to take part in an ice hockey match, wearing no skates, which obviously ended with her slipping on the ice. And in Series 4, Episode 7, based in Devon, one of the most spectacular moments of the show occurred when the first clue contained coordinates to the middle of the English Channel, and upon arriving at the coordinates, a giant submarine emerged from under the sea and the helicopter landed on it for Annie to retrieve the clue from the captain.
She has got the life jacket on for no reason at all.
It's coming out!
It's coming out. Oh.
Look at it. It's just come out of the sea. Can I land on that? Stand there. Keith, this is your biggest moment yet. Can I get out?
John Tuckett, I'm the
John,
captain
nice
of the
to
submarine.
see you.
Nice to see you.
While the vast majority of episodes took place in the United Kingdom, there were a number of episodes that took place internationally, including the very first episode of the series, which took place in Bali, Indonesia. Some of the other international locations that were featured were Singapore, France, Spain, Malta, Israel, the United States, Switzerland, Australia, and New Zealand. In terms of winners on the show, contestants won a surprisingly large amount of the time. By my calculation, about 45% of episodes ended with contestants finding the final treasure, although sometimes by the narrowest of margins. In episode 10 of the first series, set in the Lake District, the final treasure, a small toy peacock, was found with only 7 seconds left on the clock.
15 seconds.
Hang on, there are 2 birds. I found it! There's a bird in the bush! Here it is, it's a peacock!
Stop the clock, stop the clock.
In episode 2 of the second series, only 5 seconds were remaining when Annie found the treasure.
Hey, I found it! There's a dog's collar! And then there's a little silver dog on the outside! Stop the clock! We got it!
And the most nail-biting of them all, in episode 11 of the 7th series, Skyrunner Annabelle made it to the final location with only 1 second to spare, although this time the treasure was an elephant.
I can see the elephant, it's right here! And it got a bun! Quick! I got it, stop the clock!
In researching for this video, I went back and watched quite a few episodes of Treasure Hunt, and was pleasantly surprised by how entertaining it was, even today. If you've never seen it before, or fancy a blast from the past, I highly recommend going back and watching some of the old episodes, and see if you can solve some of the clues and find the treasure. When Annabelle Croft was brought in to replace Annika Rice as Skyrunner in the 7th series, she was referred to as the guest Skyrunner, as it was initially intended for her to return the role to Annika when she came back from maternity leave. However, this would never happen, as Chatsworth Television, the company responsible for producing Treasure Hunt, decided that the 7th series would be its last. However, another short-lived show took its place, Interceptor, yet another of Jacques-Antoine's creations, and a show that had a similar look and feel to Treasure Hunt. Perhaps that will be a topic for a future video. Treasure Hunt was eventually revived in the UK 13 years after the last episode of the original series. In 2002, the new series would air, this time hosted by Dermot Murnaghan, with the role of Skyrunner being taken up by presenter Susie Perry. The first series had 5 episodes, all taking place in Kent in the southeast of England, and the second series was based entirely overseas, with locations in the United States, Mexico, New Zealand, and Australia. However, this second series would prove to be the last, and the show was cancelled once again. Those who grew up in the 80s will certainly remember Treasure Hunt fondly. The show was quite ambitious and was unlike anything that had been done before on British television. Its unique blend of adventure, puzzle solving, and real-world exploration made it a captivating and enduring classic. Treasure Hunt not only entertained its audience, but also challenged contestants to think on their feet, relying on their wit and the limited resources at their disposal to decipher the cryptic clues and navigate the Skyrunner to the hidden treasure. The thrill of the hunt, the ticking clock, and the element of surprise as the Skyrunner encountered unexpected challenges added to the show's excitement. However, the show's legacy lives on, and the French game show La Carte au Trésors, inspired by the original French treasure hunt La Chasse au Trésors, is still airing on French television as of 2023, and is well worth checking out if you get a chance. And who knows, maybe one day Treasure Hunt will be revived on British television once again. My thanks to you for watching. I hope you've enjoyed this nostalgic look back at Treasure Hunt, and it's brought back some great memories. If you haven't already, please subscribe to the channel, give this video a thumbs up, and let me know your memories of the show in the comments below. Thank you, and see you again in the next video.